Hey guys, what's up? I'm Ella Snyder. I am a first year student at Parsons School of Design in New York City, and I make videos about that sometimes. So if you're interested in college and Parsons, and also just like my other videos like vlogs, fashion, lifestyle, and all of that, you should subscribe. Self-promo. Anyways, now that I've said that, today's video is basically going to be a reflection on my first semester of school at Parsons, because I just finished it about a month ago, and ever since then I've been on break. And I actually filmed this video at the beginning of winter break literally a month ago, but I was watching the footage and I just felt so ugly. I don't know if you guys ever experienced that, but I just like looked at myself and felt ugly. So I was like, scrap that, we're doing this over. And I actually think this is a good thing, because taking this entire break has given me a long ass time to reflect on my first semester of school. Also, I got lash extensions, so I don't have to feel as ugly anymore because I have eyelashes. Let's just get started with talking about Parsons, because that's what you clicked here for, not to hear me talk about my insecurities. So yeah, first things first, I would have to say that my overall view of the school after my first semester is generally positive. So yes, I definitely don't regret choosing Parsons as a school to attend, and I don't think that I'm making a $60,000 a year mistake with my life so far. Obviously that could change at any point over the next 3.5 years, but for now I do think that Parsons was the right school for me, and I'm happy that I go there. So if you guys are new to my channel, you probably don't know this, but I applied to 23 schools going into the college application process, and I ended up choosing Parsons because at the end of the day, I knew that I wanted to be in New York City, and I knew that I wanted to do something creative or like in the arts field. So I just figured art school in New York City would be the best option for me, and the best option for art school in New York City was Parsons, in my opinion. But if you want to fight me, then fight me. Moving on, I took 5 classes my first semester, which is pretty standard for the incoming undergrad first year student, because you're basically supposed to take 10 classes within your first year, and how you split up your classes each semester is all up to you. And so the first 5 classes that I took were Integrated Studio 1, Integrated Seminar 1, Space and Materiality, Time, and Objects as History. Now I'm going to go through all of those classes and give you a brief description on what you're going to be learning in them, as well as the teachers that I had, and basically just how I felt about the class. My number 1 tip if you are planning on attending Parsons would be to look at the course catalog for undergrad first year students, and kind of researching each teacher that you're interested in, because at the end of the day, the teacher that you end up with and what they do in their personal life as artists is going to impact what you're learning in the class. So for example, if you're taking a 3D design class and your teacher is a fashion designer outside of Parsons, you're going to be doing a lot of fashion design in that class. But if you're taking a 3D design class under the same name, but your teacher's a product designer, you're going to be doing product design in that class. So that's my first tip, but let me now just like talk about the classes, you know? Integrated Studio 1, which was the first class that I mentioned, is basically a studio art class, and like I said, what you're going to be learning in that class really just depends on what your teacher does as an artist outside of the school. So I had the professor Michael Tong, and I absolutely loved him. He's basically an installation artist, and we didn't really do that much installation work in his class. We did a lot of kind of bookmaking and doing zines and pop-up stuff, which was really cool. And I really did enjoy the class, even though it didn't relate to my major at all, which I was at the time planning on going into photography, and now I'm planning on doing integrated design, which basically means make your own major, take classes from whatever you want. But I really did enjoy that class, and since you have to take it as an incoming student to Parsons, I'd recommend taking Michael Tong's class, because he's super fun and easygoing, and it's a 6-hour class, which makes the class go by very quickly. Moving on, the next class that I mentioned was Integrated Seminar 1, and that is a joint class with the studio, so you have the same students in it and you're kind of doing similar things, except it's a writing class instead of a studio class. And I had a professor named Marina B for that class. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I'm gonna just call her Marina B. And I also really liked her, and that class was a lot of reading based discussions. So each week we would be assigned a reading or 2 or 3, and then we'd come to class the next week and it was a 3-hour block, and then we'd just discuss it and then do some writing. And we also had a few different writing assignments for that class. We wrote poetry, we wrote research papers. It was just a mix, but I really did enjoy that class because it was nice to have some kind of academic class mixed in with all of the art making and, you know, thinking. The next class that I mentioned was Space and Materiality, which is the 3D design class that I aforementioned earlier. But I had Aviva Shulem for this class, and she is a product designer. So we did a lot of product design projects in her class, and at first I kind of hated it, and then by the end I really liked it. Every project that you do in that class is going to be different depending on what teacher you have. But with Aviva, we had to do wearable product design, we had to do chair design, just a lot of stuff, and she gave us a lot of kind of busy work in between classes. So I literally just had homework for her every single night, and I would be pulling all-nighters to do her homework. But at the end of the day, even though I complained through the whole thing, I definitely do think that I'm a stronger 3D design artist. Even though I'm not a 3D design student, I do think that everything I learned in her class was beneficial and it was not a waste of time, so that's good, I guess. The next class is time, and it's kind of self-explanatory. It's like a time-based art class. You do stuff revolving around video, stuff revolving around performance, comic strips, books, anything that is time-based, which I never thought a comic or a book was time-based, but I guess it is. That's what you do in that class. I had Susan Leopold for that class as my professor, and she is just one of the sweetest women I have ever met. She actually does more I don't want to call them doll houses because I feel like that's disrespectful to what she makes, but she creates these kind of sets that are out of paper and wood and all of this that resemble houses, and it just kind of warps perspective and stuff. And so I don't really know why she was teaching a 4D class when I feel like she'd be better at showing us 3D stuff, but I did like her class. I liked all my classes, let's be real. In that class, we did a lot of working with Premiere Pro, which is Adobe's video editing software, and then also Adobe InDesign to do kind of comic layouts and stuff like that. And the last class that I took this semester was Objects as History. This was by far my least favorite class. I feel so horrible saying that because my teacher was the biggest sweetheart. I just had no interest at all because this is basically an art history class, and I took art history for 2 years in high school and I loved it, but then I got to college where it was buy this $250 textbook and then teach yourself and then take an exam, you know? It wasn't fun. I wasn't getting any of the content, so I wasn't a fan of that class. But my teacher was Finn Ferris and he was nice, so if you want a nice teacher but you get a lot of tests and essays, take his class because that's what you get. I am happy to say that I got all A's and 1B my first semester, and my 1B was in Objects History, which, judging by how unenthusiastic I was about that class, I'm very happy to have left it with a B and not failed, you know? But yeah, I didn't fail out of college, so what's up? Gang gang. Like I said earlier, being in a foundation year course, which is what you do if you go to Parsons, you have to do foundation year, you're not really going to be making a lot of work that you're proud of. You're just going to be doing a lot of busy work and a lot of assignments that don't regard to your major whatsoever. And that's kind of a way of life being a foundation year. It's just how it works. You have to do this stuff to kind of learn basic skills, but it is really frustrating, and I felt like I should warn you guys about that before you go there, just because it feels like you're doing a lot of like high school assignments but on steroids. Like I feel like I would get the same assignments in high school, but now that I'm in college they're just like a little bit more difficult, or here's a twist that's new, you know? I am going to do a video that is kind of a portfolio update now that I've made all of this new work, and you guys can see everything that I made in my first semester. So if you're excited for that, give this video a thumbs up, you know? Like, let's get the people going. Every time I start to get weird, we're just gonna move on to the next topic. So the dorms and the meal plan. Let's talk about that, shall we? If you watched my New Year's Eve horror story video, you would know that I don't have a very positive relationship at the moment with the housing people at the school because I had an incident over New Year's Eve. But before that, I really did enjoy living at the dorms, and I still live there. A lot of people think that I like got an apartment and moved out and I'm never moving back, but I'm just on break. I do recommend living in the dorms for first year students, at least for first semester, if it's even possible to get a contract for housing that's only a semester long, just because the dorms at first were such a good way to make friends. I feel like all of my friends are people who like live on my floor of my building, or I have classes with them. But now that it's been a semester, I'm like low-key so ready to get an apartment for next year, just because the dorms are like infested with mice and they're really far away from the main school building. I live in the Sty dorms, which is like basically the main freshman dorm. It has like the most freshmen in it. It's like 700 students. But yeah, I'm like really freaking sick of living there. It's also just really overpriced to live in the dorms. I'm paying $1,800 a month to share a room with mice and a roommate. So that's great. The meal plan, every freshman is like required to be on a minimum sort of meal plan first year. The food is really good, I have to admit. It's all like made to order. And it's like prepared by chefs and it's good quality food, but you do get sick of it really quickly, and there's not a lot of options, and there's like almost just no vegan options. There's like a few. There's like one vegan sushi roll and then a salad bar and a smoothie bar, but that's really it. I'm also not vegan, so I don't know why I care so much about that, but for some reason I do. I recently went to the doctor and I had lost like 15 pounds because I just wasn't eating, and also I have to walk like a mile to school every day. So yeah, she was like extremely concerned about my BMI and was like, yeah, I kind of don't want you on your meal plan anymore because I feel like you would eat more without it and it's just a waste of money. I don't know. The food's good. Moving on, now that I've gotten weird once again. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was kind of social life, which I touched on with the dorms, because if you live in the dorms, you're kind of guaranteed to have somewhat of a social life because you're living with people. But it's kind of weird to not go to school at like a normal college where there's, you know, a campus and a quad and all of that. And when you step outside, it's not like just people from your school, but it's, you know, adults and little kids and babies and dogs and all of that, people doing their everyday life. But there is always something happening in New York, which is nice. You know, you never really have to be bored. You never have to like sit in your room and wonder what to do, because there's just literally so many options. Like, and my dorm is in a pretty convenient location. I can walk to Soho, I can walk to Midtown, I can walk to Union Square and take the train literally anywhere. And there's nightlife, there's clubs, there's parties, there's events, there's gallery openings, there's musical shows. There's so freaking much to do. Like, I'm so lucky to live in New York City, you know? It's been great. I love it. I love it. And at the beginning of the year, I didn't really have like many close friends at the beginning of the year, which makes sense because I had just moved there and I didn't really know anyone. And like, I remember my first week being kind of unhappy because I was like, I'm spending so much money. I'm in classes that I'm not that interested in because it's foundation course, you know. And I just like don't have a group of friends here. I remember calling Stefan, who, if you're new to my channel, Stefan at the time was my boyfriend and is currently my best friend. I stepped out of my room and like walked into the stairwell because I was just like so insecure. I didn't know anyone and I didn't have like many friends. and we were on the phone, and I was just like crying and like couldn't really say anything because I just wasn't happy. And I am currently really proud and happy to say that I have like progressed since then. You know, I've been living in New York for more than 4 months and I don't feel that way anymore. I've made such a strong group of friends with girls that I never would have met if I hadn't gone to Parsons, and guys that I would never have met if I didn't go to Parsons. And I'm really happy that I went there, you know? And I'm happy that I still go there, so don't kick me out, don't flunk me. I'm thriving. If I remember enough things that I forgot in this video, I will make another episode of this. That's really all that I have to say for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed and found this insightful in some way. I would like to say congratulations to everyone that's already been admitted to Parsons School of Design class of 2022. That's super exciting. Can't wait to see you all on campus next year. And yeah, that's about it. If you liked this, like it, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new here, subscribe. That's all I had to say until my camera rudely cut me off. But look at my eyelash extensions. They're so good, bro. Okay, that's literally all. Subscribe.